Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. My name is Natalia Moczulska and this is the news. 184 days of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Yesterday, President Volodymyr Zelensky, in his speech overnight, announced the temporary shutdown of the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. He emphasized that the risk was enormous. Only backup generators saved Ukraine and the entire region from a radiation disaster. Due to fires near the city of Enerhodar, the last working line connecting the nuclear power plant with the Ukrainian energy system was damaged by Russian shelling. The combustion generators needed to cool the reactors were put into operation immediately. The world must understand what this threat is. If the generators did not turn on, if the automation and employees of our station did not react after turning off the electricity, we would already be forced to overcome the effects of radioactive contamination. Russia has put Ukraine and all Europeans on the brink of catastrophe. I would like to assure all Ukrainians that we are doing our best to prevent an emergency scenario. But it depends not only on our country. International pressure is needed to force the occupiers to withdraw immediately from the territory of the power plant. The International Atomic Energy Agency and other organizations must act much faster than they are now, because every minute of Russian troops staying in a nuclear power plant is a risk of a global catastrophe. The mission of experts from the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is to help stabilize the security situation, may come to Ukraine in a few days at the earliest.
This operation is extremely complex. For starters, getting there. This is a war zone. This is in Ukraine. It's already difficult. I've been there twice already. I was in Chernobyl, where we were also working and stabilizing the site. I was in South Ukraine, which is another different nuclear power plant. Getting there is, of course, extremely complex. So we have to have all the security in the sense of physical security, not being shot at, aspects that need to be taken care of. This requires deconflicting a certain zone where we are going to be passing through.
The company Energoatom announced that the Ukrainian personnel of the power plant, who are still working there and ensuring the safe operation of the facility, connected one of the power plant blocks disconnected yesterday. Still, the threat remains. We understand that anything can happen because we have no control over the situation. If a catastrophe occurs, we are mentally ready for it. But it is very difficult to be physically prepared, as it can be life-threatening. I think everyone is afraid now, knowing our neighbor, knowing what they are capable of. We understand that there may be different consequences of what is happening there right now. That's why everyone is afraid. We are not afraid of switching off the electricity, but that the ecological situation may change. Last night, the Russians shelled towns in the Dnipropetrovsk region 9 times. Missiles also fell in the Kharkiv, Donetsk, and Mykolaiv oblasts. After the tragedy in Chaplin, the UN representative in Ukraine, Denise Brown, called for all parties to comply with international law. The spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Oleg Nikolenko, commented on the bizarre appeal. The appeals of the High Representative of the United Nations seem out of touch with reality. Equating the victim with the aggressor is absolutely unacceptable. We expect that the UN structures, to which we are grateful for the humanitarian aid organization, will be able to use their presence in Ukraine to determine which party should fulfill its obligations under international humanitarian law by bombing Chaplin and other Ukrainian towns and villages. In the Ukrainian armed forces, there has been a regular unit in which Russian citizens serve since the beginning of the war. Each soldier of the Legion, Freedom of Russia, signs the contract and receives all the rights of the soldiers of the armed forces of Ukraine. Additional recruitment is currently underway, so the Legionists carried out a demonstration action in front of the Russian embassy in Kiev. Together we are strong. Join our Legion, and then this flag will be flying over the Kremlin. Long live Free Russia. Constant shelling causes fires, and tropical temperatures persist in the south of Ukraine. Yesterday, as a result of fires near Mykolaiv, 253 hectares of forests were burnt. Today, the gas connection between Poland and Slovakia begins to operate. The gas flow was symbolically started by the prime ministers of both countries, Mateusz Morawiecki and Edward Heger. The ceremony of opening the new connection took place in the town of Strachocina. At the same time, the heads of government will discuss the most important current issues. The gas pipeline between Poland and Slovakia is essential for the energy security of all 3 seas countries.
W ciągu 5 lat zbudowaliśmy gazociąg.
Within 5 years, we have built a gas pipeline from northern Poland to southeastern Poland, 860 kilometers of gas pipeline, which builds an additional security space based on our LNG terminal and the Baltic gas pipeline with Norway.
W oparciu o nasz terminal LNG.
The Poland-Slovakia interconnector is a bidirectional high-pressure gas pipeline that connects the national transmission system with the Slovak junction, running as far as the border with Ukraine. It is to enable the transmission of gas at the level of over 5.5 billion cubic meters per year towards Poland and over 4.5 billion cubic meters towards Slovakia. Slovak Prime Minister Edward Heger said that the investment increases resistance to potential crises in Europe. A year ago, Russia began to reduce gas supplies to Europe. Today, we have high energy prices, and we know this is the result of the brutal war in Ukraine, the war caused by Russia. The head of the Polish government once again criticized the Nord Stream 1 and 2 investments built jointly by Germany and Russia, which he described as war gas pipelines.
Cena gazu dziś.
The price of gas has reached a historic record of over 310 euros per megawatt hour, which is proof of the bankruptcy of the German policy of buying the so-called cheap gas from Russia.
Szanowni Państwo, to dowód bankructwa polityki.
The new gas connection opens the prospect of acquiring gas from other directions in the future, for example, from North Africa or the Caucasus, thanks to LNG terminals located in southern Europe. The opposition admits that the investment increases our security, although it has questions about the guarantee of blue fuel supplies.
Czy w 100% zagwarantowane są?
Is the gas supply from Norway 100% guaranteed? Will the gas that has already been contracted flow through the Baltic pipe?
Uda się zagwarantować dostawy gazu dla spółek nawozowych?
By the end of this year, the transmission via the gas pipeline Baltic pipe is to reach 30 to 50% of the capacity. At the beginning of next year, it is to be 80%, and ultimately 10 billion cubic meters of gas per year. I know that it is expensive in Poland, that there are rates that do not satisfy Polish people. We understand all of this, but we must also have time to react to everything that Putin did, what he did in Ukraine, and consequently also Poland and Europe. On September 27th, another strategic investment is planned to be opened, the gas pipeline Baltic Pipe. It is to deliver gas to Poland via Denmark from the Norwegian continental shelf. Last night, several people were injured and 5 were hospitalized after a roller coaster ride malfunctioned at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson Township, New Jersey. The incident took place yesterday around 7:30 p.m. Witnesses said the El Toro roller coaster jerked forward at the end of the ride when people were unloading. According to several media reports, an element of the cable car broke down and caused it to stop suddenly. Several passengers reported back pain. A total of 14 people were treated on the spot. 5 passengers were transported to a nearby hospital with minor injuries to the neck, back, mouth, and tongue. After the incident that happened just before the park's closure at 8 p.m., the cable car was shut down. The ride is currently closed as the case is under investigation. Special inspectors have been assigned to this task since this morning. El Toro is one of the fastest and tallest wooden roller coasters in the world. It reaches a speed of 70 miles per hour and is 19 stories high. And finally, yesterday, moviegoers boarded boats floating on the waters of Venice to enjoy the first screening of the festival, The Floating Cinema, on known waters. Aboard rowing boats, motorboats, and gondolas, spectators sailed into the sunset to reach the floating platform where the screen was positioned. When evening light fell, viewers could not only watch the movie, but also enjoy the breathtaking view of Venice and the waters behind the island of Giudecca. Venice, beloved around the world for its canals, historic architecture, and art, is also known for its famous International Film Festival, which will open its 79th edition next Wednesday on August 31st. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please stay tuned for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and some of our other programs. But for me, it's have a great weekend.